then dissemination of information, right? Okay. So now online journalism. So online journalism, it keeps more power in the hands of the users, allowing the reader to challenge the traditional role of the publication as the gatekeeper of news and information. Okay. So however, the strength of digital journalism is the ability to integrate various media. So here we have a web page. A web page is a document that is used in World Wide Web, and it is usually written in HTML or we can say comparable markup language, whose main theme is to provide hypertext that will navigate to other web pages through links. Okay. So the main web page of a website is the home page, which should make an impression so that a site visitor must find exactly what they're looking for. Okay. So the moment they arrive, they should find it, right? So design and layout is also part of graphic design that deals in the arrangement and styles of contents, okay, which may be seen in a page element. So a page layout design and production is achieved using hand tools or page layout software. And producing a web page may require knowledge of markup languages, okay, to compensate for incompatibility between the platforms. We have this cascading style sheets, which are often required to keep the page layout consistent between web browsers. Okay. So the common denominator with the most popular websites is that they are all dynamic in nature, right? So the development involves server-side coding, client-side coding, and database technology. Okay. So the programming languages applied to deliver similar dynamic web content, however, they vary vastly between sites. So internet newspaper edition, it's just an electronic form of the hard copy of the newspaper. And in terms of the present dynamism of information sharing in internet, this form is regarded as delayed and static news service. Okay. So news groups, they pose an interesting problem from a copyright perspective as well. See, in that, because they contain elements of email and web pages, right? So we have a blog. A blog is a discussion or informational site which is published on the World Wide Web, and it consists of discrete entries which are displayed with the most recent post on the top. Okay, so with the advancement of information and communication technology, researchers have found new methods of data collection and analysis. Okay, so talking about the origin and growth of World Wide Web. See, the World Wide Web is a repository of information, as I told you. It's spread all over the world and it is linked together for easy access. And it is made up of documents called web pages that combine text, pictures, forms, sounds, animations, hyperlinks, okay? So we have discussed this in detail in the last class as well. So now we'll talk about the journalism in digital age, okay? So online journalism has empowered audiences as they are no longer passive and they contribute in the creation and distribution of news content. So blogs and social media provide a platform for ordinary users to post information and videos directly, and they can also share it with mass audiences. Okay, so this form of journalism is also referred to as citizen journalism, and it is very highly interactive, and it also skips the editorial filters, that is and also gatekeeping filters as well. Okay, so traditional newspapers, organizations, and television news channels have recognized the power of digital news media in delivering news to the new age audiences now, and they have also started their own news websites and apps to reach out to digital audiences now. So online journalism provides audiences to access to continuous live news updates for quick decision making, and it also allows them to search and retrieve information and news based on their interests. See, we can say that the internet has now changed the face of journalism, right? It has provided journalists with varied and vast array of resources. It has also provided them endless technological possibilities of work, right? The online journalism also opens up new ways of storytelling. Here they have they primarily, you can say, through the convergence of text, audio, video, photographs, and graphics. So the internet has been used as a reporting tool by journalists by way of utilizing searchable archives and databases and news sources, right? So the online journalist has to make decisions as to which media format or formats best convey a certain story. Okay. So we have to consider options for the public to respond and also to interact or even customize, certain stories, right? And also they have to think about the ways to connect the story to other stories or archives and other resources through hyperlinks. Okay. So if we talk about the types of online news websites, we have newspaper and television websites, where websites run by newspapers and television channels, they are the online extensions of their content. So they also provide exclusive information and video content for web users, right? We have this popular media organizations like the Hindu, the Times of India, and NDTV 24/7. They have their own web counterparts, right? Then apart from that, we have some independent news sites. So these are independent websites which are not associated with any news channel or newspaper organizations. Okay, they operate. They has a separate media entity, and they are exclusive to the web audiences only. So examples of such media organizations can be Scroll.in and The Wire. Okay. Then we have news aggregators. These are sites that aggregate feeds from different news sources and categories. And they also, they categorize the news according to different broadheads. Okay. So one example can be Google News. Okay. It's an example of an aggregator site. Then we have user-generated content sites. The social media tools like blogs, Twitter, and Facebook, they provide an ordinary user to publish information and opinion on a public platform, right? And also they help to reach out to global audiences. So information published by internet users on social media platforms is known as user-generated content. Here the content is generated by the users. Okay. So such information is raw and it has to be, filtered. They are unfiltered, right? It has to be, it is raw, unfiltered, and also it is unedited. But it is an important source of news to journalists, and it also reaches audiences directly here. All these user-generated content sites. Okay. So unique features of the web. See, the internet allows the society to communicate with people of all nationality and ages from every country in the world, right? It has also provided the facilities. It also facilitates users more. They also form a basis of information, and also it make people appreciate news on the web, right? So anyone with the skills can post any information on the website, or individuals who post information and use the internet, they do not need license or permission. Okay, so which is the reason for such growth globally. So, and whereas traditional mass media, it allows, we can say, one-to-many model of communication, okay? Where an individual can speak once, but to many people, right? So these are broadcast, satellite television, and radio. But however, the internet allows a many-to-one model, which is cross between mass, let's say between a mass broadcasting and interpersonal communication. That means this allows people to choose the information they want and to ignore the rest. Okay. So talking about web pages, a web page is a document that is used in the World Wide Web, and it is usually written in a HTML or a comparable markup language, whose main theme is to provide hypertext that will navigate to other web pages through these links. So a web browser displays a web page on a monitor or mobile device, where web browsers, they coordinate web resources such as style sheets, they have scripts and images. They present it to the web page. Okay. So on a network, a web browser can retrieve a web page from a remote we can say from a remote web server also. So on a higher level, that web server may restrict access to a private network such as intranet, or they can also provide access to the World Wide Web. Okay. So on a lower level, the web browser uses the hypertext transfer protocol, that is the HTTP, to make such requests for access of required information. And a static web page is delivered exactly as stored as web content in the web service file system, okay? Where, you know, a dynamic web page is generated by a web application that is driven by server-side software, or let's say a client-side scripting. So these dynamic web pages, they help the browser to enhance the web page through user input to the server. Okay. See, that means when creating a web page, it is important to ensure whether it conforms to the World Wide Web Consortium standards, that is the W3 standards for HTML, CSS, XML, and other standards. Okay. So these the W3C standards, they are in place to ensure all browsers conform to its standards and that can display identical content without any special consideration. Okay. So this is, we can say that this can be a guiding body, okay, a regulating body. So typically web pages today are becoming more dynamic, right? So a dynamic web page is one that is created server side when it is requested, and then it is served to the end user. Okay. And these types of web pages, they typically do not have a static URL which are associated with them. And today this can be seen in many popular forums, right? Like online shopping and even on Wikipedia. So this practice is intended to reduce the amount of static pages, you know, in lieu of storing the relevant web page information in a database. So some search provided, for example, these search engines, they may have hard time indexing a web page that is dynamic. Okay. So static web pages can be provided in those instances. Okay, so in order to graphically display a web page, a web browser is needed, right? And this is a type of software that can retrieve web pages from the internet. And most current web browsers include the ability to view the source code also these days. So if you observe a website or a web page, you can observe the source code, right? You have a coding format, and viewing a web page in a text editor will also display the source code here. Okay, and the creation of web page is also very easy these days. Okay, it requires a text editor, or you can say specialized HTML editor also. Okay, an FTP client is also required in order to upload the created web page to a web server. So once the web page is created, it has to be uploaded on a web server, and the design of a web page is highly personal. And the design can be made according to one's own preference, or a pre-made web template can be used here. And web templates, they can make the web pages, you know, web designers' jobs also very simple by editing the content without having to worry about the aesthetics. It is already there. We only have to edit the content, right? It's a, we already have the format there. It's a template. And web pages, they are published using products like, for example, we have something like Tripod or Anglefire. Okay, these are the products of the web pages. And web publishing tools, they also offer free page creation also now. And hosting is also there up to a certain size limit. Okay, and then other ways of making a web page is to download specialized software, like for example, a wiki or a software, CMS software or forum, any other forum which allows for quick and easy creation of a dynamic web page. Okay. So understood? And these web pages can be saved by enabling the browser settings while viewing. Okay. While viewing the page, you can enable these browser settings, and the saved copy may be deleted at any time, or it can be stored also. And these GUI browsers, they also provide options for saving a web page more permanently. Okay. So these options may include you can save the rendered text without formatting or images, and also with hyperlinks reduced to plain text also. Then you can also save it to the HTML as it was preserved and the overall structure preserved, but some links may be broken. So you can also save the HTML with relative links changed to absolute ones, okay? So that hyperlinks are preserved. Then you can save the entire web page. You can also save all the images and other resources, including style sheets and scripts, which are downloaded, okay? And it can be saved in a new folder alongside the HTML with links to them altered to refer to the local copies anytime. Then you can also save the HTML as well as images and other resources into a single MHTML file. Then most operating systems, they allow applications such as web browsers not only to print the currently viewed web page to a printer, but it can also have an option to print it to a file also. So this can also be done. Okay, then we're talking about the home pages. The initial or main page of a website is sometimes called as the front page or the home page, okay, the first page. So the first page that appears upon opening a web browser program, which is also sometimes called the start page, okay. So this start page can be a website or it can be a page with various browser functions such as the visual display of websites that are often visited in the web browser. Okay, so a home page can also be used outside the context of websites, such as to refer to the principal screen of a user interface, which is also referred to as a home screen on mobile devices such as cell phone. So the home page, we can say, is a website's initial chance to make an impression. So a site visitor must see exactly what they are looking for the moment they arrive, right? So defining the purpose of the website will help you see what will attract users to the site. Okay. It also supports all of the features common in HTML. And initially, the program did not include any sort of template system. Okay. But it also didn't include a system for creating rollovers, menus, other menus. But at the time, it was highly experimental features relying on the latest browser versions. Okay, that means it also suffered from a number of bugs and display glitches, okay, which were never fixed. So it improved the table editor. It also included a clip art library of several thousand GIFs now. So we can say that the version contained templates and also tools for building database driven websites using FileMaker now. So talking about the design and layout, the design and layout is part of a graphic design that deals in the arrangement and style of content, right? The contents of the page elements. So since the advent of personal computing, page layout skills have expanded to electronic media as well as print media these days. So the electronic page is better known as a graphical user interface, that is the GUI, when interactive elements are included here. The page layout for interactive media overlaps with interface design, which includes interactive elements and multimedia. Okay, so a page layout design and production is achieved using hand tools or hand layout software. So producing a web page may require knowledge of markup languages, okay, and some editors to compensate for incompatibility between the platforms. And cascading style sheets, they are often required to keep the page layout consistent between web browsers. So we have grids and templates, okay, in the design and layout. So grids and templates are page layout design patterns which are used in, let's say, advertising campaigns and multiple page publications. So what is a grid? A grid is a set of guidelines able to be seen in the design process, but it is invisible to the end users, okay, to the people who see it at the end user. So it is used for aligning and repetitive elements on a page. Okay, they are the invisible lines. So grids are meant to be flexible. That means using a grid to lay out elements on the page may require just as much as more graphic design skills. Okay, so we can say that they are like an invisible line, which is required to, it is very much required to the design the the page. So in contrast to grid, a template is more rigid, and a template involves usually repeated elements mostly visible to the end user. A template can be seen, right? It is visible. So using a template to lay out elements usually involves less graphic design skills than that which was required to design the templates. So templates are used for minimal modification of, let's say, background elements or frequent modification or of the foreground content. So it is usually the template is much more visible. And most desktop publishing software, what they does is they allow for grids in the form of a page filled with colored lines. Okay, that lines, or there can be some dots which can be placed at a specified equal horizontal, or they can be placed in a vertical distance also. Okay, and there are some automatic margins, and there are some booklet lines which may be specified for the use throughout the document. And multiple additional horizontal and vertical lines, they can be placed at any point of the page. Okay, they are as I said, they are invisible to the end user or your audiences, right? So shapes may be placed on the page as guidelines for page layout, and then they can also be printed and processed. Okay, and these software templates, they are achieved by duplicating a template's data file, or they can be duplicated with the master page features in a multiple page document. So these master pages may include both grid elements and template elements. See, in templates, we have header, footer elements, then automatic page numbering, automatic table of content features. Okay, all these things can be included. So talking about the language for web page content. So web language is a scripting language for automating tasks on the World Wide Web, right? It is an imperative, or we can say an interpreted programming language, which is implemented in Java, and it is running on the Java platform, which has built-in support system. Okay, for common web protocols like HTTP, and then I told you about FTP, and then there are other popular data types like HTML and XML as well. Okay, so the most common element in all popular websites is that they are all dynamic. Okay, so their development involves server-side coding, client-side coding, and also database technology. So the programming language is applied to deliver similar dynamic web content. However, they vary vastly between the sites. Okay, so what is Java? Java is a full feature programming language, and it is used in the most of the internet applications. And its advantage are the familiarity, or we can say the platform independence it offers through implementation of Java virtual machine, and then its performance and safety. It makes it different, right? So Java is being aggressively distributed, and it is promoted by Sun Microsystems Netscape. It is the leading web browser, which now includes the Java VM and Java applets. These are the different types. And even Microsoft, which is promoting Visual Basic Script for this purpose, has licensed Java from Sun, and it will be supporting in its own browsers. And the Sun is distributing a Java developer kit free of charge. Okay, so in the interest of promoting Java's widespread use. And it also recently announced the development of microprocessors which are optimized for Java for different markets. So if this strategy is successful, the application platform is raised, and then Java displaces Windows or other OSs as well. Because see, as the target platform of application developers, then this whole, the whole ball game will change, and the impact would potentially be across the entire computer industry. Okay, it's not just only the internet. So the ability to deliver a platform independent application, or more correctly, an OS independent application, is of great appeal to developers. Okay, they spend a large portion of their resources developing and maintaining versions of the products for the different hardware or software platform combinations. So with Java, one set of resources and even more important one, byte compiled executable. That means it can be delivered for all the platforms. See, while interpretation of byte compiled program is slower than execution of a native executable program, see, the claim made is that once interpreted, this application could be, interpreted once and the result can be cached locally. That means it can be used on all the systems, and then therefore it can be executed optimally. That means it is not much complex. It is especially when compared to other languages such as HTML. Okay. So Java is the market leader at the moment. Then we have Python. The Python is an interpreted or object-oriented language which is developed as a full-featured, but it is very easy to use. It is also a scripting language. But see, it was initially developed in a Unix environment. That means Python, and if we talk about the current market standards, Python is now available on PCs and Macs, and applications are portable across platforms. Okay. And Python has developed a substantial, although still modest, they have fan following. The following is they have a scripting language, they have an application development language, and it is also an embedded extension language now. The Python syntax, they include C, C++, but they doesn't stick too closely to those other languages. But still they have huge fan following for Python. See, they have in comparison to C, C++, Java, Perl, or other shell languages, they have the interpretation is more here. That means the completeness of its type of system, it is suitable for significant application development. Okay, when compared to other languages. So Python, it offers a portable GUI, that is the graphical user interface library, and is more of a regular programming language. Okay, but it is very simpler and easier program than Java. Okay, but it is also suited to internet programming as well. Then another type of language is Perl. Perl is described as a compiled scripting language. That means it combines elements of C with some Unix scripting and also text manipulation languages into more complete language. Okay. And it also accomplishes the functionality of all the languages into one consistent whole. And it can also be compiled. It is compilable. Okay. And it is also very easy to use when comparing it to Java. Especially, see, one of the motivations in developing Perl was to provide an alternative to C language. Okay. Let's say for the tasks that were hard for compatibility with existing Unix tool, or then earlier the performance was an issue there. C was seen as unnecessarily low level. Okay. And C development too, it is very time consuming if you observe, the process there. So Perl tries to delay the need to program at a lower level now. And it has been very successful, especially among system administrators now. So since these scripts are often built by systems folks, Perl it is widely used for the purpose now when compared to C. We also have something called as tool command language, that is TCL. Okay. So TCL is a widely used scripting language which is generally used in conjunction. It is also, a very good, it has also very good interface. It is valued for the ease, okay, for C libraries which can be imported and it can be referenced also. And Java is probably TCL's principal competitor now. And TCL is higher level, quicker to program, and it is also very slower to execute. Because Java is lower level, right? And Java, when compared to Java is very lower and it is very harder also to program, but it is very quicker to execute. So now we can say that TCL is mainly used to tie together other programs, okay, generally written in C or C++. And in this role, we can put TCL in competition with JavaScript also now. Okay, clear? Clear about the languages? Okay, so now we'll also discuss about internet edition of newspapers, that is e-papers. See, internet newspaper edition, it is just an electronic form of the hard copy of the newspaper, right? So in terms of the present dynamism of information sharing in internet, this form is regarded as delayed and static news service, as I told you. So the readership of the newspaper should mainly focus on their authenticity or on their linguistic or their editorial strength and the ability which enhance the loyal subscriber base, right? See, over the time, the launching of the internet edition increases the readership of the newspaper to many folds, right? As people living outstation and those interested in regional news, they have got an easy access to the newspaper as people are now not bounded by any geographical boundary. Okay, so the internet editions, they provide a clickable interface of the hard copy of the newspaper. They provide an easily accessible archive. That means the back issues of the newspaper, the previous issues can be accessed, okay? And the navigation ability of the newspaper is not that great as, you know, see, as a new person who is not familiar with the layout of the newspaper, they will find it very hard to find information or even to browse through the topics, right? So this has resulted as the entire image of the newspaper had to be loaded in the internet browser now. So e-newspaper is the most dynamic, fastest, and the most trusted form of news sharing through the world. And e-newspaper is gaining across all of the forms of news sources due to its dynamic nature, their authenticity, as well as the timely delivery of news, right? So as soon as the news breaks, it can be seen on the web. It can be read. So the most important factor of a website is the coverage, right? So the ability to use audio or the visual mode of communication, they have resulted in the increased usage of this media. That is the web media, the new media. So a website can convey information regardless, we can say regardless of any geographical boundaries. And more individuals and business entrepreneurs are looking for the web for information now, information on products and services. So from the most remote location, one can reach people anywhere, right? Announcing upcoming events, they can post images, and they can also get feedback at any time of the day and from all over the world, right? So we can say that a website is an ideal place to communicate with friends or family members or the customers, the suppliers, or if you're business people, you know, your suppliers, your prospects, sales people, and the general public, and also for conveying information about a person or business, you know, the thoughts and beliefs or the products or services or their business details, right? So we also have some news groups like internet news groups. The news groups, they pose an interesting problem, right? From a copyright perspective. That means that they contain elements of email and web pages. So many people who post to news groups, they never give a second thought as to the ultimate fate of their message, right? If before circulating the fake message as well. So they are unaware that this can land them into trouble. So on the other hand, some people are very sensitive about who sees and what happens to their messages, right? So news groups, they generally come in either two types, that is binary or text. So there is no technical difference between the two, but the naming differentiation allows users and servers with limited facilities, right, to minimize their network bandwidth usage. See, generally, the rules are enacted with the primary intention of minimizing the overall amount of network traffic and also the resource usage as well. So typically, the news group is focused on a specific topic of interest. So some news groups allow the posting of messages on a wide variety of themes, okay, regarding anything a member chooses to discuss, while others, they can keep more focused to the particular subject. Here, the administrator decides on how long the articles are kept active on the server before being deleted. That means different servers will have different retention time for the same news group. So some may keep articles for as little as 1 day, and others may hold them for a year as well, right? Earlier, when the community was still a pioneering computer society, the common habit seen with many articles was a notice at the end, right? Which disclosed if the author was free, or if they had a conflict of interest, or if they had any financial motive, right? So in posting about any product or issue. So this is seen much less now, and the reader must read skeptically, besides keeping in mind all the privacy or the phishing issues which is taking place now. So there are currently well over, we can say that 1100,000 news groups. Okay. But only 20,000 or so of those news groups are active now, unfortunately, because news groups, they also vary in popularity, because with some news groups only getting a few posts a month, while other get several hundred messages a day. It depends on their activity, how active they are. So these groups are possible, and see, news group can occur, and see, anybody can post as a private individuals or organizations. They can set up their own news groups. Then there are these news groups are of different types. We have binary news groups, which is, see, while news groups were not created with the intention of distributing binary files earlier, right? When they set up the news group, they have, but still proven to be quite effective for this. See, because of the way they work, a file uploaded once will be spread and can be downloaded by an unlimited number of users, right? So what is even more useful is that every user is drawing on the bandwidth of his or her own news server now. So this means that unlike P2P technology, the user's download speed is under his or her control, right? As opposed to under the willingness of other people to share files. So in fact, this is another benefit of news groups, as it is usually not expected that users share, right? So if users make uploads, then the servers would be flooded. So these are originally a number of obstacles to the transmission of binary files. So you can decide whether you want to download the file or not. We have that option, right? You can simply ignore, or otherwise you can download. It's up to you, up to the users. So consequently, for a long period of time, it was impossible earlier to send binary data from the files to be transmitted. For binary data in the sense, like, for example, sound or video files to text characters, right? Which would have survived transmission. So as the receiver sent, the data needed to be decoded by the user side. So additionally, there was a limit on the size of individual posts, such as, the last files. They cannot be sent as a single post, right? So to get around this, news readers were developed where, with which they were able to split along these long files into several posts instead of a one single post. See, those who are intelligent, the intelligent readers, what they do at the other end, they can automatically group such split files into single files, right? Which will allow them to easily retrieve the file later. So now these advances have meant that it is used to send and receive many, for example, the terabytes of files per day, which was not possible earlier. Then we have something called as moderated news groups. See, that means a moderated news group, they will have one or more individual who must approve the articles before they are posted, right? Moderator, a moderator is needed to approve. Okay, it's in the hands of the moderator to approve or disapprove any post. Okay, so a separate address is used for the submission of post, and the moderators then they propagate posts which are approved for the readership. And news group servers are hosted by various organizations and institutions, right? So most internet service providers host their own news servers to rent, or they also rent access to, for the subscribers as well. So there are also a number of companies who all who can sell their access to premium news servers as well. So every host of a news server, they maintain agreements with other news servers to regularly synchronize with each other. That means in this way, news servers form a network. And when a user posts to one news server, the message is stored locally. And that server then shares the message with the servers that are connected to it, right? And if both carry the news group, And from those servers to servers, then they are connected and so on, right? That means they're forming a network from one news group to other, from one server to other server. So if we discuss about the hierarchies of news group, the news groups are often arranged into hierarchies. See, theoretically making it very simpler to find related groups. So the term, we have this term called as top level hierarchy, which refers to the hierarchy defined by the prefix. If you are adding a prefix here. So most commonly known hierarchies are, for instance, the news group for games, right? For example, if you want to search a news group on games, you have several hierarchies. You can have a discussion of computer related topics, discussion of scientific subjects, discussion of you have recreational activities, all these different types of hierarchies depending upon the popularity. So there are a number of news group hierarchies outside as well. Like we have this outside the search engine. That means, for example, if you are typing on popular online games, you'll retrieve the result, right? News groups related to that particular subject. Then apart from that, they also provide information outside your keyword search. That means related or suggestions as suggested. Okay, they can you will also get some suggestions or related news groups as well. Okay, then we also have electronic mail. See, you know what is electronic mail? It's email, right? Most commonly referred to as email. It is a method of exchanging digital messages from an author to one or more recipients, right? So modern email operates across the internet or computer networks. So you all must be having your email IDs created, right? On Yahoo, either Yahoo or Gmail. So some early email systems required that the author had the recipient. Earlier, see, now we have the trend that we can send email anytime, right? Earlier, it was not the case. This was not the case, right? Earlier, it required that the author and the recipient both should be online at the same time for communicating, right? In common, same like an instant messaging thing. But today's email systems are based on store and forward model. That means email servers accept, they forward, they deliver and store messages. So neither the users nor the computers are not required to be online simultaneously, right? They only need to connect briefly, typically to an email server, okay? For as long as it takes to send or receive messages, they should be connected to the server. That means to the internet for sending or receiving the email. So historically, the term electronic mail was used generically for any electronic document transmission. So internet email message, they consisted of three components: the message envelope, the message sender, and the message body. The message header, they contains control information, right? Including an originator's email. That means if you're sending an email, so header will contain your email address, right? To whom you're sending, whether it's one or more recipient. The addresses of the recipients, right? The email addresses. So usually descriptive information is also added there, such as the subject, right? Why you are like this? You can also add a date and time, but it's not timestamp, but it is automatically there. But still, you can add the subject, okay? Then the body, the description of the message, right? So electronically, it is very easy now. It has very facilitated the sending and receiving process through the internet, right? So the message format from the internet email messages consisted of two major parts, right? As I told, header, it is structured into fields such as from to, okay? From to, then we have CC, that is carbon copy, then subject, date, and other information about the email, right? So the header is separated from the body by a blank line. Then we have a body. Body is the basic content, which is an unstructured text, which is sometimes containing a signature block at the end. Okay. You can write your name or your signature there. Okay. Then we have a message header. See, informally, each line of text in the header that begins with a printable character begins a separate field. That means the field name starts in the first character of the line and ends before the separator character. Okay. So the separator is then followed by the field value, that is the body or the field. And here the value is continued onto the subsequent line. That means if those lines have a space or tab as the first character, and field names and values are restricted to 7-bit, okay, characters. Then we have header fields, and the message header can include, from means the email address from the receiver, from the sender, okay, and the receiver, and optionally the name of the author, means the sender. And in many emails, clients are not changeable except through changing account settings also. So this has to be personally taken care of. Okay. Then we have date. That means the local time and date when the message was written, right? And many email clients fill this in automatically when sending, because now it's already there. And the recipient's client may then display the time in the format and time zone that is local to him or her. For example, if I'm sending a message to somebody sitting in the US, so the time, if I open that email, I can see that time to Indian standard time, right, to my local time zone. And the person, the recipient, there when he opens his email which is sent by me, he'll get the time zone according to his local time zone area. So the message header should include the message ID, which is automatically generated field, and it is also used to prevent multiple delivery also. And then we have something called as in reply to message ID. That means the message that is a reply to, if you're replying to some email message. So it is also used to link related messages together. And this field only applies for reply messages only. So then we have the two format, that is the email address or the addresses, okay? And also you can optionally name of the message recipients also you can include. And it can also indicate primary recipients, and it can be, allow it can be allow for multiple users as well. Here then we have subject. It's a brief summary of the topic of the message, right? So what you want to convey. So here certain abbreviations are commonly used in the subject, right? Including we have something called as RE and FW, okay? That means reposting, resharing, then FW is forward. Then we have a section called as BCC. That means a blind carbon copy, which addresses added to the delivery list, but not usually seen by the other recipients. You can see, okay, you can see to whom you are sending, but the other people cannot see. You can share it with multiple users, but they can see only their email addresses. That is blind carbon copy. It is also listed in the message data, remaining when it is invisible to the other recipients. Then we have carbon copy, that is CC, where many email clients will mark email in your inbox differently depending on whether you are in their to list or the CC list. Okay, that is the carbon copy list. Then we have content type. That means the information about how the message is to be displayed. Okay. Then commonly with values, we have junk or list, right? So it is used to indicate that automated or sometimes they have this automated responses coming up from, if you're sending an email to a particular person, if it's not available, there can be out of office responses. It should not be turned for this email if it's really urgent. So to prevent vacation notices from being sent to other subscribers or mailing list also. So you have that option, right? So the recipient can get the messages that the person you are trying to contact is not in the office presently. He is out of office and he'll be back soon and will reply to your message once he's back to the office. Then we have special delivery messages. That means which needs the delivery very sooner. Okay. And it is used with modern high bandwidth network. That means it's a very urgent messages. You can set the delivery priority, right? Then we have reply to, that means address that should be used to reply to the message. Then we have sender, that is the address to the actual sender acting on behalf of the author. Okay, that means your email address. Okay, any doubts here? Clear about email? Okay, so coming back to HTML. See, most modern graphic email clients, they allow the use of either plain text or HTML now. See, for the message body at the option of the user, they have this HTML email messages, which include an automatically generated plain text copy. Okay, so it is used for compatibility reasons. And advantages of HTML is that it has the ability to include inline links. That means images. You can set apart previous no, the previous conversations that you have. You can block the quotes. You can, you can underline and italics, all this change of font styles. Your message can be customized. So this is one of the advantage of HTML. And if talking about the disadvantage, they include the increased size of the email, right? If you customize the email, it will naturally increase in the size, and then also it will lead to privacy concerns, and also sometimes web pages, web bugs also can be, and threat, and then there can be phishing attacks also. That means the spread of malicious software. So some web-based mailing lists, they recommend that all posts should be made in plain text only, okay? With the limitation of 70 to 80 characters per line for all the mentioned reasons which I have cited. And then we have these Microsoft email clients also, which allow rich formatting, okay? But unless the recipient is guaranteed to have a compatible email, we cannot be, this should be particularly avoided, right? It's always preferred to use only a plain text. So in order to ensure that HTML sent in an email is rendered properly by the recipient's client software, you have to use an additional header. It should be specified when sending, okay? So, most email programs send this header automatically. You don't have to worry about that. It is almost sent automatically there. Then we have the simple mail transfer. See, messages are exchanged between hosts using the simple mail transfer protocol. That means they are sending through software programs which can be delivered to a mail, and it can be stored by a programs, okay, called mail delivery agents, okay, or MDA, which means users can retrieve their messages from servers using some standard protocols such as these above mentioned MDAs, or it is more likely to for example, if you are a corporate company, so this can be helpful, right? With a proprietary protocol specific to the Microsoft Exchange servers, where webmail, the interfaces allow the users to access their mail with any standard web browser from any computer rather than relying on an email client here. Okay, so mail can be stored on the client or on the server side or in both the places, right? Especially when you are using internet. That means if you are a corporate organization, you have this internet servers, right, where it can be stored in the client and the server side. And standard formats for mailboxes can include several options, and several email clients can use their own formats, and they also require some conversion softwares to travel and also transfer these mails between them, right? So server side storage is often, it's a format since access is through a standard protocol, and moving email from one server to another can be done with any supporting protocol, right? So accepting the message and delivering it when a message cannot be delivered, they must send, sometimes those messages will bounce back to the sender indicating a problem. Okay. So problem can be through anything, right? Even through a file name extension can also lead to a bounce back of the messages. See, upon reception of email messages, email client applications save messages in operating system, right? In the file system. So some clients save individual messages as separate files, while other use various database formats, right? They collect emails. So they often, collect and store the emails for future reference. So standard type of storage is the inbox, that is the mailbox format. Okay. So the specific format is used. Often it is indicated by special file name extensions. Okay. There are many extensions. Okay. Any doubts? Any doubts? You're clear, right? See, web-based email is also a type of email that most users are familiar with, right? So many free email provide a host, they host with servers as best. They also have some web emails. For example, I told you, right? Yahoo, Gmail, we have Hotmail and AOL also. So this allows users to log into the email account by using a web browser to send and receive their email. And its main disadvantage is the need to be connected to the internet, right, while using it. But other software tools also exist which integrate parts of the webmail functionality into the OS. That means you definitely need an internet connectivity to send or receive the email. Okay. So clear about email extensions, languages. So that was all about web journalism, the features of unique features of web journalism or online journalism. Okay. So that's all for today's class. See you tomorrow. Bye.